What do a blizzard, a woman that has fainted, and a cappuccino have in common? Well, let's find out. This is part one of two parts. Be sure to see the link above for part two. In 1982, when I was young, I was married and we had a daughter who was 10 years old. I'd been in the U.S. Air Force for almost 10 years and only been assigned in the States and never been overseas. I was getting hot for an overseas assignment, but we just were not ready for an overseas assignment yet. Uh, our daughter was in school. We didn't want to pull her out of school, which was probably an excuse. And besides, going overseas on an overseas assignment was scary. But anyway, what I did was I volunteered for a short tour. And what a short tour is an overseas assignment to an area that does not have facilities for families. So I would be going by myself and not taking my family with me. And a short tour was usually about 12 months long. And I thought, well, 12 months, it's not really all that long, but 12 months away from my family, yeah, it was long. And the sign came down for me. It was to a small site on top of a mountain in the south of Italy. And the place was called Mount Nordello. And the nearest city was Reggio Calabria, which was about an hour and a half drive from Nordello. Reggio was located on the toe of Italy, just across from Sicily, which didn't sound like a bad assignment at all because there could be worse places to be assigned to. So I got lucky. I was contacted by the site commander in a letter, and he said to let him know that my flight schedule as soon as I can. And that way he can have some guys at the Reggio Calabria airport meet me when I get there and drive me up to the site. And he said that if by chance I get delayed, if something happens with my plane schedule that I'm not there on time, if I miss the guys, that what I can do is go to the airport fire department and ask them to radio the site to let them know I'm at Reggio. Yeah, this was before cell phones, so that was the only option. But the guys at the fire department may or may not know English, and I didn't know Italian. So I thought, it's not a good option. I absolutely have to be there at Reggio Calabria at the airport at the right time and meet those guys. Otherwise, I'm going to end up lost in Reggio, living on the streets, and be homeless for the rest of my life. And I'd have to learn Italian to ask for spare change. I was booked for a flight that was leaving right after Christmas. And I was leaving from Cheyenne, Wyoming, where we were assigned, going to the Denver airport, and then on to JFK Airport in New York, where I was supposed to stay overnight. And then the next day, leave out of the international airport to the Da Vinci Airport in Rome, and from there to Reggio Calabria. Didn't sound hard. Just a quick reminder, be sure to like and subscribe. Okay, thanks. On the day of my flight, there was a blizzard, and all flights were canceled out of the Cheyenne Airport and Denver Airport. I called the airport. They said, well, there should be flights the next day, and they can book me for the same flights to Denver and JFK, where I would have 20 minutes to catch my flight at the international airport. 20 minutes. Well, the next day, there were flights, and I got my flight to Denver and to JFK. I asked, and they let me off the plane first. I got my luggage because I'd have to check it in at the international airport. There was a shuttle, and I jumped on that, told the driver where I'm going, that I'm going to the international airport, that I don't have much time to get there and to catch my flight. He said, well, you see those lights over there? It was dark, and I saw them, and he said, that's the international airport. It's 5 miles away, and I have a couple stops before we get there, but I'll try to get you there on time. The shuttle stopped at the international airport. I ran off with my luggage, ran into the airport, saw the ticket desk, got my luggage checked in. That's when the clerk looked and said, oh, your flight is boarding right now. You better hurry. I ran down the concourse, found the gate. It was empty, but the door to board was still open, so I ran in there. The stewardess was just closing the plane's door, and I called out, "Wait, wait, wait." She heard me and opened it back up. I got on the plane, found my seat, sat down panting, all relieved. Everything's going to be all right. I won't end up homeless in Reggio after all. The plane took off. I settled down. I was sitting in the aisle seat. Beside me, there was this nice lady in the middle seat. She introduced herself and her teenage son, who was sitting in the window seat. And we talked, and I told her where I'm going, what I'm doing. And she said, "That's nice." And then I noticed all the people around us seemed to know each other and her. Well, she said that they're part of this activist group who are against nuclear weapons. Well, who isn't? And they had just left Washington, D.C., where they were trying to see the president and get the president to never use nuclear weapons. Now, they only got to see a low-level representative who said he'll pass their message on to the president. Now they're on their way to the Vatican to try to see the Pope and get him to urge world leaders never to use nuclear weapons. Then they're going to try to go to Russia to see the leaders there and get them to agree to never use nuclear weapons. She introduced me to the group. They're all very friendly. They asked me what I do, and I said I'm in the Air Force. They all gasped, looked at me with eyes wide, looked at each other, turned around, and start whispering about me. And all I could say was, but I don't work with nuclear weapons. I work in personnel. It didn't matter. They never talked to me again. The lady beside me said, "Oh, don't mind them." It was announced that the lights would be turned down for the night and everybody should try to get some rest. And just what I needed. I was getting a headache anyway. But everybody settled down. It was fairly quiet, and all I heard was the whispering about me. And about an hour or so later, I heard the lady beside me sound like she's having some trouble. And she got up and just all of a sudden just fell right into my lap and started rolling back and forth saying, "I can't breathe, I can't breathe." And I was half asleep. I didn't know what's going on. I just looked around wondering who's going to help. Is she really not able to breathe? Is she trying to become a member of the Mile High Club? I didn't know. Dennis doesn't know. Her son woke up and yelled at me, "What are you doing to my mom?" "Nothing," I said. "I'm stuck here. Your mom's on me. I can't get up. Can you get by us to get help?" And he just growled at me. And I looked around and I found a call button on the armrest to call the stewardess. Hit that, and the stewardess came and brought oxygen, gave her some oxygen. And, at that point, I could have used some oxygen myself, but the lady was all right then. She sat back up, and her son left in a huff. I don't know where he went. I didn't see him anymore during the flight. And then after that, the lady sat by the window seat, staring out the window, and every so often looked back at me and said, "Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so embarrassed." And I lied and said, "Oh, it's okay. It's all right." And so, hours later, we got to the Rome airport, and I got off, got my luggage, walked over to the domestic airport, which was just a few blocks away. And there I found a machine to change some dollars into Italian lira. Yeah, this was before the euro. Like I said, it was a long time ago. So then I was still had a really bad headache, and I thought, well, maybe I'll need something to eat and drink, maybe a cup of coffee. So I found a food vendor, got something to eat, and asked them, "Where can I get a cup of coffee?" And they pointed out a bar. So I went to the bar and asked the man there for a cup of coffee. Luckily, most everybody there spoke English, and he said, "Sure." Oh, I waited, and it took quite a while, and he came back with this white foamed concoction, and he said, "Now, this is not the kind of coffee that you're used to, so you're going to have to put some sugar in it." And I'm going, "Well, I don't put sugar in my coffee." And he just looked at me like, "Stupid American." So he brought over a bowl of sugar, and it had a little spoon in it, and showed me how much sugar to put in it and stirred it and left me to it. And I tasted it and I said, wow, this is great. My first cappuccino. And I made a note that from now on, wherever I am, if the cappuccino is available, I'm going to ask for it. But unfortunately, it didn't do much for my headache. After that, I found the gate for my next flight to Reggio. It was a couple hours yet before the plane was going to board, so I had time to look around the airport. And I came back later, and there was luggage screening right there at the gate. And at the end of the luggage screening desk stood a soldier with a machine gun, looking like a Klingon, staring at me with his laser eyes. But I got through screening without getting shot. And I don't think the soldier really liked Americans, but I sat there and waited for my next flight to Reggio. Be sure to watch part 2 of my trip. More adventure awaits. And don't forget to like and subscribe, okay? We'll see you next time.